So let's kick it off with chapters 1 through 6 of Iron Flame. Take it away, Nicole!
Part 1. Chapter 1. The second book of our story opens up with Violet in the middle of a huge revelation. The biscuits in Horatia are good. Oh, and Brennan is alive. Brennan, or Lieutenant Colonel Asari, stares at his sister and tries to fill the awkward silence, but Violet's inner monologue is giving us readers a recap. Horatia is being rebuilt after getting scorched 6 years ago. Venom and Wyvern are real. Who knew? She's been mended by Brennan. Oh, and Lexi. Did you know that Brennan is alive? Brennan leaves for an assembly meeting, but Violet is determined not to just sit around and wait. On her way to snoop out this meeting, she is baffled at the beauty of Ryerson House. I mean, there's actual art on the wall. Lexi, wow! More on Ryerson House today in our archive section. Finding Imogen and Bodhi, she joins them to eavesdrop, but not really, on the assembly meeting, which is in full swing and run by just peaches. But two things are very clear. One, the assembly does not like to agree on things, including the idea of the 8 Russin survivors going back to Besgaev. 2, Violet Sorengale cannot be trusted. And thank goodness our shadow daddy is sitting on his chair. Hello, throne room scene. And looking like he don't give a fuck. He is loud and clear that Violet Sorengale is his responsibility. Yeah, she is. Xaden outs the eavesdroppers and assembly is shocked. They're listening? The door is open, Suri. Calm down. The meeting is dismissed. Really, this could have been an email. And Xaden clears the room, finally giving Violet and Brennan the opportunity to talk about the 6 years, Major Yzma voice here, he's supposed to be dead! I did my best. Chapter 2. Time for answers. After an awkward silence, Violet starts firing off her questions. Here's what we learned from Brennan. He knew that she was in the Writer's Quadrant and that she survived. Naolin didn't fail, but it cost him everything. Yes, we will be talking about it. They had to destroy the box that Garrick's dragon found. Also, the box is Navarian made? What? Horatia has a dormant ward stone. Brennan thinks that they have about 6 months before the Venom are at their doorstep, and Brennan doesn't remember shit from their father. How did they function without Violet? I am truly baffled. Violet leaves the room mentally agreeing with Taryn. She has to go back to Besgaev. Speaking of that curmudgeon, it's time to see some dragons. Violet, Brennan's dragon Marb, Taryn, and Sigale all meet up. But what the fuck is that? And Darna is huge. Well, sort of. Half Sigale size. And her scales are fucking black. And much to Taryn's dismay, she's a teenager. Oh no! Oh no! Xaden joins along with the other 6 Besgaev students who are ready to roll on out of here. And Darna wakes up with the energy of Bambi learning how to walk, but Bambi with some sass. We do learn, however, that she can no longer stop time. Xaden has a plan to get our golden one, if we can even call her that anymore, back to the Vale, but they gotta move fast, because it's time to graduate. Chapter 3, 18 hours of flying later, woof. Taryn and Violet approach Besgaev along with the rest of the riot who fought at Russin. As they walk towards the college, Violet and Xaden have an out-loud conversation, far too intimate to speak mind to mind, but our favorite Shadow Daddy does not mind reminding her that they've been far more intimate when she's been wrapped around his Violet wants to know if there's any other scribes that they can trust in the rebellion. Xaden shuts it down. Nope. No scribes. They also create a plan for handling the Dane situation, but it's not throwing him off the parapet or dick punching him. Sad. They enter Besgaev and the two go into Liam's room to gather his letters from Sloane. Cute. Weeping. But Violet's ability to keep her mouth zipped is immediately put to the test when she runs into her squad. Violet gives Liam's letters to Ree to hide so that they aren't burned with the rest of his things. A very fairly paranoid Xaden rushes them away to the rotunda, and Xaden takes a huge L. I'll tell you some answers. And cue the start of some major conflict for this dynamic duo. Violet issues an ultimatum, but cocky Xaden is like, lols, good luck with that. The group walks outside to formation, and Xaden's and Garrick's names are being called on the death roll. Awkward. Chapter 4. Captain Fitzgibbon says it perfectly. You're not dead. Colonel Atos is immediately unhinged. Inconspicuous, my guy. But General Sorengale is pissed. Xaden spins their story. They were attacked by griffins on the flight to Athbane, killing Day, Fuel, Liam, and Soleil. Violet steps in and shares her selective truths, but also that she was sliced open by a poison-tipped blade. Mama Sorengale is irate with Colonel Atos. Clearly his discretion lacks all common fucking sense. God fucking damn it, Dane's dad. She dismisses the showing and graduation continues. Dane breaks formation towards Violet. Violet, you're safe! safe. And Violet replies in true Parks and Rec meme fashion, touch me and I swear to God I'll cut your fucking hands off and let the quadrant sort you out at the next round of challenges, Dane Atos. Violence indeed. Xaden makes this whole spectacle of it. She's mine, Dane Atos. Violet is looking up at the heavens. Kill me now. Xaden puts Dane in his place with one word though. Athbean. That shut him up. Graduation finally continues and the third years get their orders. And that's it. They're second years now. Yay? Chapter 5, who's ready to party? After a quick chat about the mysterious village of Shantara and a download of what we can expect from the second year at Besgaiath, we, in Violet's head, learn that she's dealing with some major survivor's guilt, making it really hard to go back to the swing of things. The squad starts asking questions about Violet and Image's war games, but luckily Imogen covers, and they all cheers to Liam. Quinn quickly changes the subject into something nice and lighthearted, like advice on not getting attached to the first years because they're probably gonna die. Way to lighten the mood, Quinn. Xaden captures Violet's attention, and she excuses herself from her squad to go talk to him. Oh, and Garrick is there too, but not for long because he's ignored and he leaves with a figure your shit out. Garrick, come back. I need more of you in my life. Xaden and drunk Violet have their moment together and they pick up their earlier conversation. Violet needs full honesty. Xaden needs her to start asking questions and he'll answer them. Get used to this, friends, because this will be a common theme in this book. But this lover squabble is interrupted by Colonel Atos and a major with a perfect uniform and a perfectly cruel smile. Dun dun dun! Atos introduces this man as the new Vice Commandant Varish. And get ready to hate him with a fiery passion. We had practice with Dane last year. It's time to put it to use. We learn that Xaden has been sent to Samara, a southern outpost on the front. But Varish does his first heinous thing and hands Xaden and Violet their missives. Every fortnight, you get to fly to one another. Rotating these trips put them at seeing each other every 7 days. Atos turns to leave, but not without a not-so-cryptic, secrets die with those who keep them. Yikes. And again, Sly, my guy. Chapter 6. This was absolutely a death promise. Violet is furious, and out in the courtyard, Violet lets her lightning rip, but there's other cadets around. Oops, sorry. Xaden and Violet say their goodbyes. We learn that Sigale and Taryn can't communicate from that far away. They can't put anything in writing. Violet cannot involve herself in any marked one's missions, and she can only trust those who were at Resin. Oh, and Xaden is going to continue being a morally gray, cocky prick. Just as Violet is about to give in and kiss her shadow daddy, he pulls away with a anticipation is good for us and for us readers. Violet pulls the I can go fuck anyone I want card, and confident cocky Xaden comes back out to play. You can, but you won't. Ruin me, Xaden Ryerson. Xaden leaves and Ree comes to comfort her friend, but she's shining with pride. The bad news, Dane is a wing leader. The good news, Ree is a squad leader. Her first orders to her squad, though, the not at all ominous, live. Easier said than done. Chapter 7, it's orientation day, and there's a new teacher up in here, Professor Grady, professor of the Riders Survival Course. We learn this super sneaky secret course is to teach riders what to do if they get separated from their dragons behind enemy lines, teaching them how to navigate the land, how to work together, oh, and how to withstand being tortured. Ominous. Rhiannon asks the ever-important question, what happens if we break during interrogation? To which Grady responds, don't. Oh, back in the archives. So peaceful, so wonderful. Violet asks our scribe friend Jacinia for a book on Besgaiath's founding and why they chose this location to build the wards. For a defense in history class, of course. Pinocchio, your nose begins to grow. Jacinia agrees with a slight questioning eyebrow raise, but she brings a tome. And thus we enter scribe super sneaky spy mode. Chapter 8, conscription day is here, and our girls Violet, Nadine, and Ree are joined by fucking Dane at the top of the tower, which is the entrance to the parapet. Their job is simple. Just take the name of the conscript before they go out and possibly die. The new conscripts reach the top where this fearsome foursome is waiting, and after the first candidate falls off the parapet, Violet stops watching and just focuses on her job, specifically noting the aggressive soon-to-be cadets, like this bullish guy that redeems Jack fucking Barlow Jr. I wonder if he'll be important. Anyway, a newbie comes up with startling green eyes. It's Cam! Oh wait, no, it's Auric Greycastle. Did he just make that name up? Welcome to our story, King Tauri's third son. Well, it's time to go back to taking names, and double whammy, it's Sloane. Violet goes into mentor mode. Braid your hair, arms out for balance. Don't be a fucking idiot. I mean, Sloane must be just like her brother. Funny, kind, lovely. Nope, she hates Violet and blames her for Liam's death. And cue Lexi and Nicole having eggs on our faces. But she makes it across. Go Sloan! I still can't stand you, at least for part 1, as the new cadets are being sorted into their squads. Damn, Sloan is in first wing. But what's that? Dane makes a change and Sloan goes into Violet's squad? Stop it, Dane. Stop it with your peace offerings and your stupid things that make me want to actually start liking you. God fucking damn it, Dane forever. Sloan reluctantly, and I mean really reluctantly, joins Violet's squad, which also contains Arik. After some announcements and a surprisingly motivational speech from Aura Bindhaven, who knew that Bisgayeth could be a motivational seminar, 6 dragons join the party, including a one-eyed orange dragon. Cadets absolutely freak the fuck out at the dragons, and several break away, and Solus totally tortures them and about half of third squad. Basically anyone who didn't duck, which thankfully our core characters all did, but not Kieran. God fucking damn it, Kieran. Another cadet starts to run away, but whose wing beats are those? It's Tairn! Tairn comes down and absolutely terrifies the first years and roars loudly. Solus is unfazed, but retreats. Looks like Violet just cemented a new enemy in Varish. Chapter 9. Violet wakes from a nightmare and gets ready for her morning run, but our favorite pink-haired badass decides to join. After all, she's not sleeping either since Russin. Just as they're about to start hitting the pavement, Rhee spots her best friend and curiously questions Violet's sanity. But Bodhi tells Rhee to get on out of there, and Imogen and Violet begin their run. What I would give for Imogen and Violet's running playlist. Later that day in Battle Brief, Devera and Markham tell the students about 2 recent Griffin attacks. Violet begins to have an existential crisis. What is true? What is not? Poor scribe Violet. We learn that Griffins were found in the armory of the Athbean outpost, where they were looking for weapons. A distressed Violet runs to Bodhi after class and begs him for a job. Bodhi is absolutely unmovable. Survive second year, that's your job. Frustrated, Violet goes to her room and continues reading over lunch. Later at assessment day, Rhee finally confronts her friend, asking if she's mad over her choosing Sawyer to be her EXO. Violet laughs it off. No, it's definitely not that. Sloan attempts to face off with Violet instead of Arik and absolutely fails. Violet 2, Sloan 0, Imogen coming to Violet's defense 1,000. But the bullish first year from the parapet comes up to our second squad asking for Violet Sorengale. Nadine jokingly pretends to be Violet. Funny joke, right? And he snaps her neck. Chapter 10. Oh shit! Violet begins to fight the assassin and she's really holding her own until he has his hands around her neck. But as he's strangling Violet, she begins to realize 2 things. 1, this whole secrets die with those who keep them. This is a message from Colonel Atos. And number 2, his eyes are rimmed red. I'm sure that's nothing to worry about. Violet, using her same kidney move she learned from Xaden last year, kills the first year and is covered in his blood. Yummy. But she's in a rough spot. Dane comes up to her and tries to come to her aid. Violet lashes out and screams at him not to touch her. Honestly, fair. Immaterio comes up to Violet, telling her that she's concussed and that she should probably leave. But Violet's like, nah, I'm good. Imogen and Riddick help her back to her space on the mat, and Arik and Sloan finally fight, and Sloan sucks. Honestly, good. At the end of the day, yes, she went through her whole day covered in his blood. She walks into her room and our favorite Shadow Daddy is here, even though he's a day late, but he's here. And he's about ready to commit murder. Violet is bathed and brushing her hair while Xaden is sharpening a weapon in the corner, and they have a calm moment. They can have those. Violet learns about Samara. It's annoying. And she learns that he warded her door. She can bring in whoever she wants so long as they're touching and it's soundproof. Xaden is ready to test those sound wards, but only if Violet is able to give him those 3 little words. And brilliant fucking woman that Violet is, no way am I telling him that I want him. Sigh. Violet. Xaden calms her anxiety and guilt about not wanting to know the first year's names. You're just a second year. Get ready to lose your humanity. Bisgayeth taking a major L here. Bodhi shows up and him and Xaden have sneaky secret business to go take care of, but not before Xaden gives Violet a letter and lets her know that his room is warded just for him and her. Swoon! Chapter 11. Violet is still smiling from her Shadow Daddy's note. Honestly, same. And Violet and Imogen have a friendly but very short conversation about Violet's relationship with Xaden. Short because Imogen is like, I don't want to talk about it. Mood. Jacinia comes over to Violet and she gives Violet a book, The Gift of the First Six, and she asks for some assistance translating Old Lucerish, a dead language that Violet can read. A scream across the courtyard catches their attention and second year is being dragged away by Professor Markham. That's pretty sus. Jacinia freaks out and admits that she recorded a request from the Screaming Rider yesterday, and it dawns on Violet, again, brilliant fucking woman, that her research project is actually dangerous. Later, Violet walks with her squad and Ree gives them all their mail. Mail time! Shouts to you millennials. Violet receives a letter from Mira. She's most definitely not disappointed. But Violet realizes that her letter from Mira is heavily redacted. In the flight field, Varish comes up to Violet, slimy little man that he is. He tells Violet that she needs to have Andarna for tomorrow's flight maneuvers or else, and how ironic it is that her father was studying feather tails and then she bonded one. Violet corrects him. You mean coincidental. Sorry, Vi, I'm with Varish on this one. It's a bird. It's a plane. Nope, it's Dane on Cat's four legs, showing a running landing. But Taryn is adamant. No way in hell are you doing that, Violet. A few nights later, Bodhi is walking Violet to Taryn so that they can travel to Samara. Bodhi is passing information to Violet. Well, kind of coded information. But what's that? Catriona? That doesn't sound like code. Varish interrupts this awkwardness and has his sidekick search her bag. But before sending her on her way, he reminds her that because Andarna didn't show, Violet will be receiving her punishment when she returns. Violet hops on Taryn, who has much contraband, and the two fly to Samara. Chapter 12. The two arrive at Samara, and it's something. Violet gets behind the safety of the wards, and she notices that she's the only person in black. After dropping her stuff off in Zayden's very empty room, she searches through their bond and goes to find him. He's beneath her. Yeah, he is. She travels down basically to the dungeons of the fortress, and she finds a chamber filled with riders, watching two riders in the fighting pits. Of course, one of the fighters is Zayden, and yes, he is shirtless. A female rider fills us in. Jarrett is the only one who has a pass for the lieutenants for this weekend, and Zayden wants to spend it with Violet, and cue Nicole becoming unwell. Turns out Violet is too. After straight up oogling at him, his eyes shoot to hers. Finish him, she tells him through their bond, using it for the first time since Resson, and boy, oh boy, does he! Zayden wins the pass, but Violet is still drooling over this man. What if we sorta made out? And he obliges. Nicole melts. Just as Violet is ready to start this bang, bang, bangity bang moment, Zayden pulls them apart. Son of a bitch! He doesn't want to use sex to win her back, so he'll kiss her whenever she wants, and it dawns on this brilliant fucking woman. Oh, he wants me to tell him I love him. I would have already caved. Later, Violet is washed and fed, and their routine is in full swing. Her brushing her hair and him tinkering with a weapon. And they are having this beautiful casual conversation, and it is perfect. But then Violet begins asking wards questions. We learn that the alloy in the hilts of their daggers have mini wards imbued in them, and these are the daggers that can kill venom. Oh, and a whole lot about the wards is classified. But enough about the wards. It will have to wait because it's shielding lessons time. And Zayden does not take it easy on her. Woo! Chapter 13. Arriving back from Samara, Violet is immediately told to join Carr and Varish, and boy, oh boy, is it a homecoming. Varish forces Violet to wield as many lightning strikes as possible, not only to the point where she's beyond overheating, and this time it's not from Taryn asking, shall he get the wing leader, but because she is on the brink of burnout. After strike 41, ending with Violet locking up and quite literally almost dying, Varish lets her go. Thanks, my guy. Nurse Taryn takes Violet to the icy river to dunk Violet in the world's worst polar plunge. Violet is met with a blanket, Bodhi, Imogen, and Aya, who assist in getting Violet back to her normal body temp and back to Besgaiath. Later that week, our squad is back at sparring, and Sloane is getting her ass handed to her again. Imogen and Violet watch this painful match, but then there's a tap on Violet's shoulder. Spinning around and ready to strike her attacker, she realizes, oh, I have Riddick at knife point. But all he wanted was to see if she wanted to walk to physics class together. On their walk, a anxiety-filled Violet is frantically looking around in every crevice for potential assassins. But right then, a bag is thrown over her head and she is immediately unconscious. Dun dun dun! Chapter 14. Time to go camping! After waking up in the middle of a forest with a squad from Second Wing, 2 infantry squads, 2 healers, and a scribe, Professor Grady gives them their assignment. Only after giving them water, which is of course poisoned, which cuts them off from their dragons. I'm shaking my head at you guys. Their objective is to use the map to get to the designated point, all while working together as a team. Oh, and just one other thing. Dragons are hunting you. Simple enough, right? Nope, this is a shit show. Not only are there way too many egos in this forest, like Riddick feeling superior to Cadet Asshole, the infantry squad leader, and they're bickering enough to not realize until hours in that there are 2 maps maps, and yes, they are different. They run into Bade, Jack fucking Barlow's dragon, and being the unpredictable orange that she is, she tries to torch a cadet as she runs away, but Tomas from Second Wing is the victim here. And that is why you should fucking listen to Rihanna in Chapter 15. It's the next day, and our Landnav crew is still wandering out in the woods. As they're settling in for the night, Violet goes to relieve Riddick of watch and is brought dinner by a very thankful Dyer, who Violet saved while facing off with Bade, and a very skeptical Rhiannon. Rhiannon orders Violet to go to sleep, but not before giving her the best friend slap in the face of a lifetime. She knows something's up, and when Violet is ready to talk, she'll be there, but no more insulting their friendship by lying. Ouch, but honestly, fair. The next day, the failure carriage comes to pick up the infantry along with some very, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed teachers. But the dragons also arrive to pick up our squad from school. Violet immediately confirms with Taryn that he got to see Sigale and worries about the likelihood about her getting to see her man next week. Chapter 16. Later that day, a Xadenless Violet decides to use her time wisely and visit the archives. She runs into Jacinia, and these two have a totally surface level, not at all treason, and could be considered murdered for this conversation. Jacinia, this brilliant fucking woman, figures out why Violet has been lying and asking for specific books, and the two come up with a deal. On Saturdays, Violet comes to the archives for books on building the wards, and only on Saturdays will Jacinia give her the earliest version of the book that they have. And by the way, did I mention that only on Saturdays they can do this? Because literally, or else they'll die if they get caught. But Jacinia wants something in return. The next day, it's sparring challenge time, and shock of shocks, Sloane still sucks. After Violet drugs Sloane's opponent and Sloane surprisingly wins the match, Violet gives this little fucking spoiled brat a deal. Train with Imogen, and every week you'll get one of Liam's letters. Sloane is shocked, but unsurprisingly a bitch about it. But as Imogen and Violet walk away, Imogen tells Violet that she finally sees why Xaden fell for this brilliant fucking woman. As Violet is ready to head to Taryn to fly to Samara, she is met by Varish again, who checks her pack and insists on walking her out. And just when you thought this guy couldn't suck anymore, he made for sure that Xaden was on 24-hour duty when Violet visited. Fuck you! Chapter 17. Who needs Dr. Phil when you have Imogen? Imogen and Violet are heading to Battle Brief, and Imogen serves up some cold, hard truths. 1, Xaden will always have secrets. Get the fuck over it. 2, talk to your fucking friends. Just before Battle Brief, Rhys shows Violet a highly ominous letter from her family, which Markham plucks out of her hand, and then he proceeds to spew lies for the whole class period. An absolutely panicked Violet runs to the archives and begs Jacinia, who is definitely in class, for another book. Jacinia is like, bitch, I said Saturdays, and maybe you should talk to your friends. Violet, have you gotten the hint? Talk to your friends. Chapter 18. Zad is back, and homeboy looks exhausted. After getting washed up, he comes to a sexless book Violet and quickly figures out that Violet has been doing her super secret, super dangerous wards project, and he is pissed. After arguing wordlessly in front of all of her squad mates that will never not make me laugh, Xaden follows Violet to the archives, and they argue the whole way there. Well, at least until they run into a ragged Nolan who waits for Caroline Ashton. They finally make it to the archives and Jacinia, where they do another book exchange, and Xaden doesn't murder her on the spot, so at least he deemed her worthy. On their way back to the Writers' Quadrant, they take their argument to such a heated level that Xaden storms off, and Violet wakes up with his things being gone. Chapter 19. At flight maneuvers, a very nervous Violet spots a smiling Varish, and Darna is, again, not here, and Varish is looking like it's fucking Christmas morning, just as he's about to basically skip up to the mountaintop and watch Violet burn out. Daddy Taryn is like, Varish, hold my beer! Taryn sinks his teeth into Solus's neck and demands Varish to apologize on his knees. Not normally the reason people get on their knees on this podcast. And his groveling is glorious. But Solus is looking like he's about to enter his reputation era. Later on that week, Violet is ready to head off to Samara, and her good friend Rhee is walking her out to the flight field. And finally, after some frustration from Rhee, Violet explodes with every ounce of emotion that she's been holding into her little box, and it's heartbreaking. And just as Violet is about to tell her best friend basically everything, Varish comes to break up this party. He does his normal check with his normal douche canoe-ness, and once he leaves, Rhee thanks her friend for opening up to her. But Violet finally tells her friend one truth that she can give her. Nothing is all right. Dun, dun, dun. Chapter 20. Arriving at Samara, Violet is nervous to see her shadow daddy again, considering that the last time they saw each other, they said some not so very nice things. But that tall glass of water comes striding over to her and forces her hand, major air quotes, and asks her to ask him to kiss him. And shockingly, she says, Okay. But as these two go at it in the middle of the courtyard, who is that clearing her throat? It's our second most favorite older sister behind Lexi, Mira Sorengale. And guess who's stationed at Samara now? After Xaden leaves for his shift, a not at all judgy Mira takes Violet to go throw knives at shit. You know, sisterly bonding. But as these two are destroying targets, Violet begins to ask some conspicuous questions, like the wards, how they work, what is alloy made of, and other things that are way above her clearance. Mira immediately knows that something is up with her little sis, but Violet keeps prying until she finally hits the point where she asks Mira the not at all pointed question, what if you saw Wyvern and there's a whole war we know nothing about? Smooth, Violet. Mira brushes off this highly treasonous conversation. You're not sleeping well. There's a T for that. Love, treason, and gaslighting. What a good pair. And as Violet relents, Mira sends her to bed. Later that night, a shirtless Xaden slides into bed, causing my heart rate to spike. Violet confesses that she's almost told Mira everything, expecting a very angry Xaden to chastise her. But no, he stays quiet and lets her offload all of her stress. Feeling much better now, Violet starts to ask questions and is shocked when Xaden actually answers them. And these two begin having a normal conversation and begin sort of healing their trust issues. But Violet is exhausted and cuddling. Xaden reminds them both that she still loves him. Chapter 21. Back in Navarre, it's time for history class, but leadership is being called to the front due to an attack, so Devera is subbing. But unlike my favorite substitute teacher, she's not rolling in a TV. Nope, she's ready to drop some knowledge and challenges all the students to think about what were the costs of unification. Basically, she continues her Teacher of the Year award. Later that day, it's time for sparring challenges. And after avoiding him multiple times, Dane finally seizes his chance to talk to Violet on the mat. Dun, dun, dun. Dane fights Violet, sort of, and he admits to giving his father her memory. But just like one, and it was just like a flash of a memory. Then, just because it's Dane and he needs to have the last word, he drops a bomb on Violet. Your mother is the one who carved the 107 scars onto Xaden's back. Woof! At least someone's telling the truth around here. Violet is ushered away by Rhiannon, who starts to piece things together. The rest and crew saw something they were not supposed to. But look! Arik comes into the picture, who's broken his wrist and needs to see the healers. He and Violet leave sparring and begin to discuss how Arik, is supposed to be on his 20th birthday tour. But wait, in a this was not on my bingo card moment, Arik admits to knowing about the Venom. Chapter 22. We're in Violet's dream and she's running away from the sage. But the sage takes away her gravity and yanks her off their feet and they have a little chat. Huh. Sure, that doesn't mean anything. It's Saturday, and Xaden and Violet are on an adventure to Besgaius Forge. How romantic. But who's that standing in the hallway? It's Varish, and oof-da! It's time for Violet's interrogation assessment. Xaden tries to fight it for her, but she accepts after Varish threatens to take away Violet's leave for next weekend. So after getting her hands tied up in the middle of the open hallway, because that's not sus, she's led off to the RSC interrogation room. Chapter 23, field trip time to the interrogation chambers. Away. After each of our squad members gets a secret phrase, they are instructed by Grady to eat and drink and then share a secret with each other. Because, they're also going to try to beat that one out of them too. Our squad shares a secret, Violet needing to do a do-over because her first one sucks. The squad almost drinks the juice they were given, like they've learned nothing from land navigation, but luckily brilliant fucking woman stops them. They enter the scenario and get the absolute shit kicked out of them again and again. Varish enters and feeling like this is taking too long, brings in his protege. It's God fucking damn it, Dane! Chapter 24. Dane walks in and is pissed that a member of his wing is injured and in interrogation. But God fucking damn it, Varish comes in with the knife twist. You're going to practice your signet on Violet. Don't you want to know what she's been hiding from you and why she chose Xaden over you? Damn, Varish sucks, but he's good at his job. But just as Dane is about to reach for Violet with 2 hands, Violet says no. And like a decent fucking human being, he listens to consent and walks out. A disappointed Varish, then not at all overreacting, punches Violet's shoulder out of her socket. Later, she wakes face to face with Nolan, who has been sent to mend Violet so that Varish can literally torture her again and again and again. All signs point to this guy is really trying to kill her. Nolan helps clear the hallway and our squad starts their escape plan. Sawyer melts the hinges off the door as they tell Violet they want to know what she's hiding, even if it puts them at risk. They run out of their interrogation chamber and are face to face with another door, but Violet's knife is starting to tingle and it unlocks the door. How'd that happen? weapon. With a confused look towards this vibrating knife, terrible sex toy idea, by the way, they start to run out, and in true Finding Nemo fashion, escape! Chapter 25. Professor Grady is waiting outside, basically on a lawn chair with pom-poms, and is like, hey, you did it! Our squad gets another patch. Later that week, they're on their way to Battle Brief, but there's quite a commotion happening inside. On each of the seats, there is a piece of paper letting everyone know that Zolia, the Poramil city where the Griffin Flyers College is located, has fallen due to blue fire dragons. That order is important. But in true Bezgaeth fashion, no one knows if this is real or not. Markham comes in with the triple D: discredit, deflect, and distract. And boy, oh boy, does he have a distraction ready. It's the boy who lived, Jack fucking Barlow. And despite looking all innocent as he joins his squad, our team knows he is definitely going to try to kill Violet again. Chapter 26. Well, it's time to continue on with class, I guess. I'm sure nothing more will happen. Oh, just a 3-drift attack on Samara that left one rider severely wounded. Our girl Violet is freaking out just as Zavera shoots Violet a knowing look and scratches the left side of her neck, the side that Xaden's rebellion relic is on. Violet sprints out of the class, meeting Taryn in the courtyard, but Bodhi, running after her, gives her his flight jacket so she won't get chilly, and Violet and Taryn leave Bezgaeth. Most stressful day of hooky ever. Chapter 27. An absolute beside themselves, Taryn and Violet make it to Samara in record time, and this place looks battered. Violet runs to the sparring gym after getting a tip-off from Mira that Xaden is in there. Violet bursts in to find Xaden in mortal peril! Wait, no, he's sparring. Violet steps into his sight and, losing her fucking mind, Xaden scoops her up, taking her into the bathing chambers. He turns on the cold water, and Violet, for the second time in this book, is part of a polar plunge that she did not ask for. But the shock of the cold water is enough for her mind to be her own again, no longer being overtaken by Taryn's emotions. Xaden shows Violet that he indeed had an ouchie, but he was mended after the scribe report went out. These two have a charged moment. Violet undoes her hair, bringing Xaden to his knees, very on brand for this podcast. And bang, bang, bangity bang. I said bang, bang, bangity bang. Shower sex has entered the chat. But after this passionate, steamy, and wet moment, cause the aqueducts that Xaden breaks, which is hot, Xaden Ryerson is ready for round 2, but alas, Violet is already throwing on her clothes. It's time to go meet up with some Griffin Flyers. Chapter 28, Midnight Rendezvous, anyone? Xaden and Violet meet up with a drift of 7 Griffins and their Flyers for a weapon supplies drop-off. And hey, we know one of them. It's our girl Serena from Ressin, but she's standing next to someone who's beautiful, younger, maybe her cousin, maybe a sibling, we don't know. And it looks like the little Serena lookalike has the hots for Xaden. Also, she a bitch. Xaden and the Flyers exchange some pleasantries, well, kind of, and Xaden admits if it comes down to saving Navarians versus saving poor millions, he will choose Navarians. Apparently, this is a new development. But we also learned that a Paromish Viscount will happily give him a luminary, but Xaden, for reasons, says no way. But Violet has a suspicion that this is about her. Serena takes the daggers and says to the younger Flyer, "Let's go, Catriona." Oh shit. That's Xaden's ex. Chapter 29. Heading back to Samara, Violet confronts Xaden about Kat being his ex. But before they delve too far into their sexual history, Violet also asks about Takaris. We learn that this dude wants to see Violet wield lightning, and in return, he'll give him the luminary. That's it. And Violet is like, what's the big deal? But Xaden admits that Takaris is known for collecting things, so Corden is not up for discussion. He switches back the topic of conversation to that earlier option of number 2, but Violet has a lot to share with her shadow daddy. Coming back to Bezgaeth, Violet is deliciously sore from what happened with Xaden. Looks like option number 2 did get to happen. Walking to her room before turning herself in to be court-martialed, she runs into Varish. And as usual, this guy is an ass. His henchmen check her bag, but just before they ask her to strip Xaden's flight jacket off, she locks eyes with Ree, who's watching her through her cracked open door and gives her a meaningful look and looks at the alloy dagger that Xaden gave to her. Kaori swoops into the rescue for our girl Violet, but Varish still gets his little rat hands on Xaden's jacket and checks every pocket. Huh. Nothing. But Professor Kaori has another trick up his sleeve. He's already talked to Panchek, and Violet is cleared of all charges. Glad that's over. Varish and his posse leave, and Rhiannon calls her friend into her room. Our girls summon the dagger through the walls. Huzzah! 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 But enough of Ree being a badass, her friends are demanding answers, and Violet caves to tell them. The dagger is for killing Venom. Chapter 30. Violet tells her friends everything. Well, maybe not about Horatia and Brennan, but everything else. And they immediately jump into problem-solving mode. Violet is shocked that they skipped over that whole part where they're supposed to be mad at her and shun her out of the group. No, accepting. Wow, what a concept. As they plan their next actions, Violet laments that they don't have a first-hand account from the first 6. But fucking Riddick has the info they need. Warwick and Lyra's journals are in the sub-level vault in the archives, and he learned this from a classified ledger in Mama Sorrengail's office that he read during squad battle last year. Well, shit! Violet is stunned, and honestly, us too. But they make a plan to ask Jacinia if they can sneak in ASAP. Montage! 4 weeks or so go by, and for one reason or another, mostly because Violet is stuck in the woods, our girl is unable to see her shadow daddy. But now it's threshing, and both of our friends, Auric and Sloane, have made it. Yay! And as our favorite second years are watching the dragons and their new bondage enter the field, they receive a message from Jacinia. She's found the secret vault. Violet goes to her watch duty at the academic tower while Riddick goes to meet up with Jacinia and get the DL. But just as Violet is relieving Aya from her duties, 4 assassin infantry soldiers enter and begin attacking. Aya does not make it. R.I.P. to my girl! But just as Violet is thrown over the edge and holding on for dear life, a knife is shoved through the spine of the last living, money-hungry infantry soldier. Chapter 31, Jack fucking Barlow to the rescue? Jack fucking Barlow pulls Violet up and saves her life. Weird does not even begin to cover this moment. But Jack fucking Barlow leaves, and Riddick comes in and sits with our girl as the adrenaline passes. But he tells her the bad news. Jacinia found the vault, but it's the royal one, and they need someone with King Towery's bloodline to access it. Sucks. Bummer, man. They had a good run. Oh, darn. But wait, now it's Violet's turn to drop some knowledge because good thing they have a prince who hates his father. Chapter 32. In Violet's room the next Saturday, Violet just told Xaden everything about the new members of the We Know About Venom crew, and he's pissed. Like, I need to close my eyes and count to 20. Pissed. But he looks ahead at the night's adventure, breaking into the archives. And together, him and Violet agree that they're doing this plan. The rest of the crew joins in, including, what am I doing here, Auric? But homeboy is pissed when he sees Xaden, leading us to learn that Xaden killed the prince who mysteriously died in the Writer's Quadrant his first year. Well, did not see that coming. 3 hours later, our crew is well versed on the plan and the heist has begun. Our crew unfortunately has to split up so they don't draw attention. So Imogen, Xaden, Auric, and Violet venture into the depths of the archives and they make it to the royal warded room, and Auric pulls Violet in with him, much to Xaden's dismay. Violet and Auric search, and yes, we are going to break this moment down beat by beat. But just as they're needing to leave, they find the journals. Of course, they're in the middle of a kingly table, perfect for showing off. Woof, King Tari. Auric retrieves them, absolutely obliterating his hands. Looks like King Tari can only access those wards. And our crew begins to sprint out of the archives, but the doors are closing. Violet makes it out, but Auric doesn't appear to be so lucky. Chapter 34. Nope. Never mind, a second prince is not dying today. Xaden pulls Auric through the archives. Holy shit, our team all made it. An elated Xaden and Violet have a happy moment, rare for these two, in a dark alcove, not rare for these two. Xaden takes one of the books from Violet, leaving for Horatia to drop it off with Brennan. And just as a parched Violet is basically skipping through the halls, she runs into Nolan. Oh, it's good guy Nolan. Sure, he's up to wholesome things. Nope. Nolan gives our girl some lemonade, a familiar tasting lemonade, and suddenly Violet's connection to Taryn fades, and Varish steps into view. Dun dun dun! Chapter 35. Waking up, Violet looks around and quickly discovers she is in the brig of Bezgaiath, and fuck, she cannot reach Taryn. Varish, Nolan, and Nora, the truthsayer and Varish's henchwoman, come in and begin the interrogation process. They just want to know 3 things in regards to Lyra's journal. 1, how'd you steal it? 2, who'd you steal it with? And 3, why? Apparently, those royal wards had a tripwire alarm set up. Refusing to break, though, Violet tells only selective truths, and that's not what Varish wants to hear. He dismisses Nolan and begins his favorite game, torturing Violet. Some time later, Violet is laying with many a broken bones in her cell. But she's not alone. Liam, our favorite Hufflepuff and gem of a human being, is beside her bed. And because he's perfect, he provides her with some comfort. But god fucking damn it, Varish comes in to continue the party. He admits that he's not just after torturing the answers out of Violet. No. He knows that Ryerson is going to lose his mind and abandon his post in search for Violet. And then Varish will have all he needs to interrogate Xaden. Violet is not the prize, she is the tool. He orders Nolan to mend her so that he can, quote, start fresh, gross, and Liam agrees to stay by her side because he's perfect, and of course he does. Days go by and Violet continues to be broken again and again, but Liam is with her every step of the way. But on the 5th day, she hears a familiar voice. It's god fucking damn it, Dane! With a question mark. Varish begins to spin a story saying how Violet and the Marked Ones want to take down the wards. Dane gobbles up this lie and reaches for Violet with 2 hands and reads her memories. But with a tip from Liam, Violet drags Dane into her memories of Resson and the horrors she witnessed. She shows him everything. The Venom, the Wyvern, Soleil getting killed, Liam and Day dying, all of it leading up to Erasure. But all god fucking damn it Dane takes from this memory download is, you've been stealing daggers? Fuck. Well, it was worth a shot. Just as Dane is about to lay into Violet with a dagger, whoa, a slicing sound fills the room. But no, Violet is still intact. Dane went for Varish. Plot twist! Dane cuts Violet free and helps her up, and just as he's asking Nora to step aside, please, a hand reaches around from the shadows to cut Nora's throat instead. Chapter 36, Morally Gray Shadow Daddy has come to the rescue! Xaden storms in and is horrified to see his girl looking the way she is. Violet says to Xaden that she didn't break it and that she's so sorry he risked everything for her. But Xaden, stealing all of our hearts, including Dane's, confesses his love to her. Fucking swoon! So glad that's the only confession we get out of this chapter. Wait, who's that who has a knife to our guy Garrick's throat? That would be Lilith Sorrengail. Confession number 2, unemotional version. Lilith demands a moment with her daughter, and reluctantly, Xaden releases Violet. Lilith confesses the reason she sent Violet into the Writer's Quadrant. If Violet went into the Scribes and became Markham's protege, she would have inevitably learned the truth, and her moral compass wouldn't have let her agree with Navarre's self-preservation. Lilith didn't want to risk Violet being killed for leaking information. I wonder if that's ever happened to anyone else. So she called in that favor Ryerson owed her. Wait, what? Lilith, again, unemotionally, tells Violet that she carved the 107 scars into her boyfriend's back. She then made a deal with him that she could call in a favor at any time. Her favor ended up being keeping Violet alive in her first year in the Writer's Quadrant. A shooketh, Violet reaches Xaden again and says a sort of heartfelt goodbye to her mother. Xaden is all, okay, we're good to go. Let's get the Marked Ones. Let's fly away. But Violet says no. Call a full formation and give all of the quadrant a chance to choose which side they want to be on. There's that moral compass her mom was so worried about. A little later, Dane is speaking to the whole quadrant and unveils the Venom's secret. And it goes just about as well as you might think. Cadets are up in arms and they basically don't believe him. Violet has Terran show everyone the memory of Resson. Well, at least almost everyone. Some dragons refuse to let their riders see because they've already made the choice to stay within Navarre's protection. And the riders who are convinced are ready to roll out. Teachers come out, some ready to fight, like Carr, who's wielding fire at cadets, but Bodhi can counter signets. No big deal. I guess you can call that confession number 3. Some teachers, however, are ready to join the revolution, like Devera. Oh yeah, confession number 4. Devera put the pamphlets everywhere in Battle Brief earlier in this book. An hour later, 200 dragons and over 100 riders are in the sky heading to Erasure, including Taryn and a sleeping Violet and Andarna. Landing in Erasure, Brennan rushes out yelling, "What the fuck did you do? Why is my sister almost dead every time she shows up?" Well, Brennan, you said you needed writers. End of part 1. Part 2, Chapter 37. Violet is trapped in another dream where she faces off with the sage. And just as he's about to take a dagger to her, she wakes up in Xaden's very large, very comfortable bed. And next to her is a half-naked, sleeping shadow daddy, feeling frisky and like desperately wanting to feel alive. She kisses Xaden awake and then really makes him feel awake. And bang, bang, bangity bang. I said bang, bang, bangity bang. No better way to start part 2. Heading to the assembly chamber, Xaden and Violet pass the hundreds of cadets they brought with them and wonder, what the hell did they just do? And it seems like they're not the only ones thinking this. They walk into an absolutely irate assembly meeting. These people are pissed at what Violet has done, but Xaden steps in with a "not my girl" and reminds the assembly that he alone bears the responsibility for Violet. He pulls down his shirt, exposing miles of rock-hard body. Wait, that was earlier in this chapter. He exposes a silver scar right above his heart. Satan finally talks some sense into these people, mostly. You have knowledge, fucking teach them. And just as they're starting to gather a bit of a plan, a shimmering bond opens up within Violet again, and Darna is finally awake. Chapter 38. In the dragon's hangout spot in the Valley of Erasia, Violet meets up with Terrence, Sigale, and Indarna, and our girl is hungry. After flaring her wing in an attempt to flight but stumbling forward instead, almost taking Violet out, Indarna and Sigale walk off to enjoy a herd of sheep. Tough time to be a sheep in Erasia. Violet and Terran have a super private conversation where Terran tells Violet that one of Indarna's wings has not properly formed, and because of that, she will never bear a rider. Mini montage! With this deeply distressing information regarding Indarna, Violet dives into translating Warwick's journal, and of course, back into classes, Erasia style, and our crew is adjusting to this new life, like in Battle Brief. Still taught by Devera, but now also Brennan, aka Lieutenant Colonel Asarai. And man, oh man, is this a different Battle Brief. They tell the actual truth. Go figure. They say that the Paromish town of Anka has been taken by Dark Wielders, but also the Dark Wielders are just chilling in Zolia, almost like using it as a base. We will be talking about that later. We also learned that Griffin Flyers attacked Samara looking for weaponry. Violet, frustrated with the repercussions of her actions with taking half of the Besgaiath recruits, woof, is determined to figure out how to get to Cordon and get this damn luminary. But shit, a riot approaches, and Tyne leads the pack. Shortest revolution in history. Violet bursts out into the courtyard and puts herself between Mira and Ryerson House. And Terran takes it to another level, grabbing Tyne's throat and for fuck's sake, almost killing him. Turns out Mira comes in peace though. Lilith came to Samara and told them all the truth about the Wyvern and the Dark Wielders, and gave them the opportunity to choose their own adventure. Mira chose the revolution. Mira's gaze then shifts to her you should be dead brother. He is ecstatic. They run towards each other, finally reunited, and Mira punches him in the face. Chapter 39. All three Sorrengails are reunited, and Brennan definitely has a broken nose. Sounds like siblings. Mira is rightfully pissed at Brennan and makes it known with numerous twist-the-knife comebacks to her bigger bro. And Violet, trying to help her brother and de-escalate the situation, is ignored by these three older siblings. Shouts to you, my younger sibs. Xaden walks in, and Violet quite literally climbs this man like a tree. And Brennan is like, clutch my pearls in front of my eyes. But Violet drops the knowledge bomb on the situation. I know how to raise the wards. Later, the Assembly, Bodhi, and Violet are all walking towards the wardstone in Erasia, and the Assembly are being little bitches about it. Violet literally thinks that she can save them all, and they're all like, you're wasting my afternoon, ma'am. All they need to do is take the 6 most powerful riders in Erasia and bleed on the wardstone. That's it. They open up their palms and begin to bleed on the wardstone. And boy, oh boy, do I hope they have their tetanus shots. But nothing happens. Dun, dun, dun. The Assembly is like, I told you she's wasting our time. Way to rub it in, y'all. Xaden is an encouraging boyfriend about it all, though. He'll try again as he wraps both of their hands. But Felix, noticing her powers start to rise, is actually helpful. We'll start our lessons tomorrow. However, Violet, she needs to do more. So she goes to her sister and requests her help. Chapter 40, it's Signet training time. My fucking favorite. I'm so excited to talk about this. Violet and Felix stand on top of a mountain, and Felix is ready to see what this lightning wielder, the most powerful rider in her generation, can do. And Violet wields 2 strikes almost back to back and looks at Felix and is like, did you see that? But Felix is wildly unimpressed. He goes on to tell her that thanks to Car, she never mastered the basics of her pure power signet. Oh, and she can also wield lightning from her own 2 hands. He gives her a small orb with alloy for her to begin practicing siphoning her power through, so to speak. Felix might be an ass, but boy oh boy, he is one helpful ass. Thank you for entering our story, my guy. Later, Mira, Violet, and Brennan are heading to their dragons for a sneaky mission. They are going behind Xaden's back and flying to Viscount Takaris' house. Fucking favorite stretch in the book. As they land in this beautiful city, they notice that it definitely appears that they were expected here. Weird. They are required to share one truth with a line of Griffin Flyers, one of whom has the Griffin Flyer equivalent of the Truth Sayer's signet. Turns out they have really powerful mind powers. This might be important for later. Violet admits to the Truth Spotter that she is here to wield for Takaris, Brennan is here to make a deal for the Luminary, and Mira is here to gut people like fishies if they hurt Violet. Turns out that Mira's approach earns her some respect from those Griffin Flyers, but just as the guards part the way to make it into the palace, a rider in all black steps out like he is ready to commit some Shadow Daddy murder. You're not where I left you. Violence. Dun dun dun! Chapter 41. Xaden is pissed as he leads our Soaring Gale crew through Viscount Takaris' house, giving them a small tour of this place that he's frequented many a time. Then he introduces them all to the Viscount. And this dude knows how to make some peeps feel welcome. Brennan is ready to dive into some negotiation tactics, but Viscount is like, oh no, we need to play dress up first, sir. And who is the best person to help them out but god fucking damn it, Cat? Oh, that's why Xaden's been here so much. Kat leads them up to get dressed, and Xaden and Violet start arguing. That's going to be a theme throughout this chapter. Xaden is terrified and pissed at her for putting her life at risk. Violet is infuriated that Xaden is putting protecting her over common sense for the fucking revolution. And she ends the argument with the final knife twist. You sound like Dane. Woof. Sorry, X-Man, but you really deserved this one. The Soaring Gale ladies get dressed in gorgeous black gowns, and don't worry, Mira's has pockets.
Huzzah! Pockets deserve huzzahs, okay?
Absolutely. Kat comes back from putting on her own red outfit and continues to absolutely fuck with Violet's mind, but Serena comes in to put her little sister in her place. The four ladies head down to the dining room, and Violet can't help but notice she feels off and jealous, but in a true shall I get the wing leader moment, Zaddy bursts through her mental shields and reminds her just how not jealous she needs to be. In this 50-person dining room, 50 people are in this dining room. Xaden and Violet have a moment of apologizing to each other, and then they make out. I can almost see the looks of awkwardness on these other 50 guests. Viscount Takaris breaks up this lovebird moment and directs Violet onto the terrace. It's time to see our girl wield. He wants her to go out into his private arena and strike the Ribosant chest, the priceless chest Fen Ryerson brought to Karis when he made the deal for Xaden and Kat to wed. Not a good look for our guy Fen Ryerson right now. Violet heads down to the field with Mira and panics. Now would be a really good time to know how to aim with her wielding, but the guards open the chest and out pops a venom. Chapter 44, Ruh-roh. Violet, Mira, and I decided to join in for the fun, Brennan, face off with a starving dark wielder. And it's off to a great start with Mira basically giving him a fucking knife. Just as he begins to drain from the earth, however, the three Soaring Gales huddle together and Mira, doing the absolute impossible, shields them all even though she is far from outside her range of the wards. We will be discussing this at length later. Violet sees her opportunity and tells Brennan and a knocked out Mira to get off the grass. Shouts to my Princess Diaries fans out there. Violet unleashes her lightning on a water-soaked ground just as Taryn picks her up, thus creating one crispy venom. Ding dong, the venom's dead. Glad the dramatics are over. Except Xaden has Viscount Takaris in a literal suspended chokehold. Not the kind of choking we're used to seeing from our Shadow Daddy. Violet talks him off the I'm about to kill Takaris ledge, and the Viscount apologizes for his stupidity. Then looks at Xaden in a what now manner. Now they negotiate. An hour later, a changed and fed Violet and Xaden, honestly that would make me happy too, are sitting down with Takaris, and Takaris presents Violet with his offer. Violet stays here and defends Corden against the riderless wyvern who have been flying around like gnats. In exchange, a few years later, she'll be able to live out her days with everyone she loves in the Isle Kingdoms. Those damn Isle Kingdoms rear their ugly heads once again. Violet says no, although it's tempting, it is the coward's way out. So instead, Takaris says, well, fine, you can just take the 100 Griffin Flyers to Erasia and we'll have a deal with the Luminary, meaning Kat is now going to be Violet's housemate. Brennan agrees. Dun dun dun. Chapter 43. Time for a hike! The Griffin Flyers and the Dragon Riders are told that they're going to be climbing up a 12,000 foot cliff that is probably booby-trapped, in hopes that they'll start liking each other more. I don't know if I like anyone after hiking 12 hours, but that's just me. But as the Dragon Riders start to bitch and moan about this, Serena reminds them that the Flyers are basically putting their Griffins, and therefore themselves, on the brink of death with this elevation and the treacherous nature of this hike. So they begin. 3 hours in, it still sucks! Violet, Sloane, and Mirren, a Griffin Flyer and Kat's best friend, are having a delightful chat. They learn that the Cliffsbane cadets have something called harvest instead of threshing, where they basically run off a cliff in hopes of landing on a griffin, and if they don't, they fall to their bloody death, getting ripped apart by the Oh, no. They just swim ashore, brush off the embarrassment, and join a different military branch. Weird. But then a pulsating, wave rushes over all of them, and it turns out a baby dragon just emerged in the Eurasian Veil. Happy birthday, Feathertail! Several more hours later, Violet is ready for Malik to claim her at any moment, so she doesn't have to hike anymore. I would also be this dramatic after 12,000 feet of hiking. They approach a section where Dane is standing guard. Apparently there's a booby trap, and cadets have to jump over the 6 feet across and land on the other side of the pressure point. Sounds great, except Luella and Violet are too short to make the crossing. So Violet, using Riddick's rock climber abilities, has him put a sword on the cliff face and makes them swing across. And now this is the gauntlet. Violet crosses, no problem, but Luella hits the pressure point and all hell breaks loose. Riddick gets pierced with 2 arrows. Violet's shoulder pops out of socket trying to save Luella as she falls off the cliff's edge. Luella, however, cannot hang on and she falls to her death, and Luella's griffin dies as a result. Can someone, for the love of God, get Brennan, please? Chapter 44. Dane pops Violet's shoulder back into its socket, woof, and Kat goes absolutely unhinged on Violet, screaming that Violet dropped Luella on purpose. Brennan arrives and starts to mend Riddick, but just when we thought the worst was over, a giant gray set of wings beats by them, and a maw snatches Sibyllaire, Luella's dying griffin, off the cliff. Wyvern! Violet races onto Taryn's back, much to Dane's dismay. Hey, I remember this feeling. Violet and Taryn move through the sky and get the wyvern into position, and Violet, with a newly popped back in its socket shoulder, wields lightning downward onto the wyvern, using the wyvern's magic as an energy field to attract the lightning. The 4 wyvern drop out of the sky like sacks of stupid gray potatoes, but as Violet lands on the top of the cliff, somehow still standing, she, Brennan, and Bodhi realize something horrific. The newest hatchling's magic pulse, alerted the wyvern to where they are, and also alerted the Venin who created those wyverns, since they all share one conscious. Well, shit. But the most shocking thing of the day is that they realize this from a book that Brennan has on the Venin that he won't let Violet read. God fucking damn it, Brennan. Chapter 45. At formation, the newly dead riders and griffin flyers are listed. Off to a happy start here, friends. And it hits Violet that at the rate that they're dying, they only have 2 months left before the Eurasian riders are gonzo. Violet and her squad also notice that the griffin flyers take the news of death very differently. They have emotions. As they're dispersing, Violet laments to her squad that Kat, aka the walking piece of terror, is doing ungodly things to make her life miserable. Bodhi arrives and tells Rhiannon that second squad has a new class added to their schedule, taught by Professor Trissa. Skippy, it's time for that new class. In the Toasty Valley, our squad is waiting for Rune's class to begin, and of course, they're paired with Kat's Drift. And who is leading the teeth-bearing hatred but Darna, whose scales look a little red today? Weird. Rune's class begins, and it's 3D geometry meets interpretive dance, and these students are rightly very confused. We get a mega Rune download. Stay tuned for today's archive section. And our squad has one assignment. Do a simple unlocking rune and put it on the wooden board. Violet, feeling intimidated by Taryn's gargantuan power, reaches instead for Darna's power, making it just a little easier. And yes, we will be talking in depth about this moment. Everyone is clueless and ends up with scorch marks beneath their feet. Well, everyone except for smug Kat. Chapter 46. In their room one morning, Violet is working on her runes homework, and Xaden has just stepped out of the shower. These two have really found their own domestic rhythm. Violet starts to ask questions. Well, the safe questions at least, about Xaden putting runes in her daggers, and the stone with a super complex rune at the side of his bed, which turns out Liam's mom, Colonel Mari, wove that one, and it was how the rebellion relics were created. Xaden eggs her on to ask more questions, but Violet halts. She doesn't want to risk the disruption of their happiness that they've created. Violet heads off to Rune's class, realizing that she might only have like a B+ rune in her hand. Next week, we're back into sparring lessons, and the teachers have had it with these griffin flyers / rider squabbles. For today, and today only, they are allowed to challenge anyone they'd like to on the mat, because tomorrow, their separate squads are being absorbed and combined together. And according to Codex, you cannot challenge anyone in your own squad. Of course, Kat challenges Violet. After a few blows and swings that feel oddly familiar, these two ladies realize realize Xaden has taught them both how to fight. Chapter 47. Naturally, Kat uses this information to absolutely fuck with Violet's head, not only taunting her about how Xaden had Kat first, but also using her mind powers to make Violet's emotions absolutely take over her completely. Basically, Kat's just being a complete bitch. But our girl has the upper hand because she wasn't only trained by Xaden. Using some of Rhiannon's moves, Violet gets the best of Kat and damn near kills this walking piece of terror. But a voice pops into her head. Xaden approves of this murder. Woof. But he is worried that Violet might not want the consequences of killing his ex. Honestly, fair. Violet very well might kill her though, and through their bond, she asks Xaden for help and he obliges, grabbing Violet off of Kat and hauling her into another room. The assembly chamber? Why did he take her in there? Telling all of the assembly members to get the fuck out, Violet asks Xaden how much of that fight he heard. Turns out it was all of it. Well, fuck. Chapter 48. It is time! Xaden, in his house, on his chair, sets his woman down and starts to undress her, much to Violet's confusion. But he knows exactly the distraction she needs, and our shadow daddy absolutely goes to town on his girl and oral bang, orally bang. I said, orally bang, hey. Xaden changes her thoughts, which are definitely not on Kat anymore, and neither are his. And because of that, we get a glimpse on how just not on Kat his thoughts are. Violet hears his thoughts. After Violet is basically a limp noodle in this chair, she notices that Xaden is off. And yes, we will be talking about it. These two start to fight about Kat, about the questions game, and about how Violet is just feeling inferior to Kat as a whole. Xaden ensures Violet that she is the only one for him and gives her some harsh truths. Kat's power only works on what you're already emotionally feeling. It's time for our girl to get some control over her emotions. Also, Xaden gave her a dagger that counteracts Kat's gifts. This would have been great to know, Xaden. Thank you. But as these two part the matter closed, he makes her promise to come to bed early tonight, and my pulse skyrockets. Chapter 49. It's time to absorb a drift of Griffin flyers, and of course, Violet Squad gets Kat's drift. Who else would they get? Violet, grabbing a hold of her emotions and her anti-Kat dagger, she gives Kat the Iron Squad patch, and she also gives her a quick, hey, thanks for teaching Xaden a very specific bedroom maneuver. Violet Squad, who definitely overhears every word, basically bows down to Violet as she leaves Kat speechless. The squad heads to the library, and after shamelessly watching Sawyer try to flirt with Jacinia, Dane walks in, right on time to help Violet translate Warwick's journal. The next day in the Wardstone chamber, Violet and Dane are still poring over said journal. Dane is horrified that Violet did not read the whole damn book. She just followed the TikTok sound and skipped to the good part. But Dane starts to open up the conversation about last year and him cupping her face. Violet is like, nope, I don't want to hear it. Imbue the stone, please. So Dane concedes with one last question. Do you love Xaden Ryerson? Because watch out, Violet. Dane might just take him from you. After a confirmation, Dane agrees that he will begin to trust Xaden too. Chapter 50. Violet is training again with Felix for her signet. And hey, our girl has been practicing. She's getting so much better at controlling the small sustained lightning where she is the energy source. Like, damn girl, this is huge. Finishing up her lesson with Felix, she feels a melancholy Xaden and she heads to Ryerson House. Grabbing a plate of food, she nearly guffaws at Garrick, Bodhi, and Heaton, who's looking pretty fucked up right about now. The three tell her that the Venin have taken Pavis, completely skipping over Corden, and Pavis is right outside of Drathis. Basically, they're a hop, skip, and a jump from Eratia. They're a common. Chapter 51. Xaden is moody, brooding on the rooftop of Ryerson House, and Violet brings him a slice of chocolate cake. Honestly, I need to just tell Brett to do this for whenever I am sad too. Xaden laments that they are outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned, and 50 years too late. Not quite as inspirational as George Washington and Hamilton, but there you go. He also notes that the reason that they ran from Pavis today wasn't because people were dying. Nope, it was because Mira saw Xaden almost get got by a Venin and she didn't want to risk Violet's life. Basically, he's like, oh, this is how you've been feeling for like a year now from the marked ones. Several weeks later, Violet and Dane are killing themselves trying to get this damn book translated. They learned already that Iron Rain is actually Iron Flame. Hey, is that the name of this book? But it's still not making sense. Violet sends Dane to bed, but keeps going on. She realizes another word might have also been mistranslated. It's the breath of life, not the blood of life. Running to Rhiannon, Violet paces in front of her friend. She knows how to raise the wards, but she's not sure she should. Dun, dun, dun. Chapter 52. At Rhiannon's sister's house in Erasia, all of our second squad is huddled together, and yes, that includes our newly absorbed flyers. Violet announces to them that she knows how to raise the wards. Oh my god! But it comes at a cost. Griffin flyers won't be able to channel. That's the cost. That's the cost, friends, but she's still all up in her morals about it. Plus, the Griffin Flyers are being little bitches about it, considering the opposite means safety, not only for them, but for any poor million refugees too. It's like we have opinions about this. But our girl Violet says, look, I'm going to give you a choice. No matter what, the assembly will know, and we will have wards, but I'm at least going to give you some non-magic advantages, like explosive arrows that Sloane recognizes as Mayor's Sight. In another nightmare, Violet is suspended with a purple-robed Venom toying with her. She's so used to these dreams by now that she knows exactly what to expect. But then the Venom does something new and quite literally terrifying. He grabs her by the neck, and homeboy spits some scary prophecy-esque words at her. You will turn. You will both turn, but it will be for love. Oh, and one of their kind thinks that she's just never gonna yield to them and they should just kill her. Then he snaps her neck and good morning, Violet. That's how she wakes up. Violet bolts up in bed, shaking off her fear, and then snuggles up to Xaden, listening to Taryn chastise her for not waking herself up like an adult. I'm an adult and I can't even do that, so fuck off, Taryn. 6 days later, Fourth Wing is geared up for a mission. There are runes hidden in the caves alongside Erasia, and in groups of 4, they're going to go and find said runes. Seems super simple, right? Nothing bad could ever happen in something like this. But just as she's about to fly out, Violet sees Xaden and Garrick rats him out, saying that he took down a Venom outside of Drathis. That's really fucking close to Erasia, by the way. And Violet's face rats her out. Xaden figures out she knows how to raise the wards. And he's like, hell yes, let's do it. Like a normal fucking person. But Violet says, no, because she's got a training mission to go to. Because that's definitely more important than setting up the wards. Chapter 53. On their hike to the cave, where Tara believes that one of these runes is hiding, our 4 ladies start to chat, and Sloane is really starting to warm up to us. Finally reaching the cave, but packed snow closed them in, this group fumbles for a light since none of them are good at producing mage lights. Violet, brilliant fucking woman, strikes again. She hands the conduit to Sloane and stretches her lightning, creating an energy line from her to the conduit. Pretty cool stuff. Kat lights the torch in this energy path and has a rare moment of honesty, showing her jealousy of Violet's power and control. These 4 ladies continue their walk in the cave, and Viscia, finally asking the question that's literally driving an entire fandom wild, she says, do you think you're going to get a second signet? But the mic drops don't stop. Sloane drops the knowledge bomb that if you bond a dragon in your direct familial line, you will get a second signet or go mad. What the fuck? What? Violet freaks out, but there's a disturbance in the cave. Right as they find the rune they've been searching for, Solus walks out and raises some hell, killing Viscia instantly. Chapter 54. Solus is unhinged. No surprise there. Violet, taking Kat, she pulls her behind her, saving her life. But Andarna to the rescue. She wraps Violet, Sloane, and Kat in her wings and protects them all from becoming quispy. Violet, in her stress, crushes the conduit against her hand, and like the brilliant fucking woman she is, she sinks the alloy into Solus's flesh, and she starts to wield into the conduit and thus Solus. But her brilliance only lasts so long. Solus whips her to the side for pow! Injuring Violet, and Sloane drags Violet out of the cave. But Sloane is freaking out, saying she's turning Venom because she's draining Violet's power. Nope, she is as Neolin was, a siphon. Yay, Sloane, for manifesting a signet! Then Andarna exits the cave, blood dripping from her mouth and her poison barbed tail. And then Taryn gets a new nickname to add to his list for other people, Slayer. Later in their room in Erasia, Xaden bursts through the door to see Kat? What the fuck are you doing here? She wanted to ensure that Violet got to a healer safe in exchange for Violet saving Kat's life in the cave. With a thank you, Sorengale, she leaves. But the drama doesn't stop there. Here we go, friends. Xaden is pissed that Violet chose to save Kat over herself, yelling at Violet, saying that all he wants is her safe. And Violet, chuckling that off, says that she gets the line of him, wanting her safe and wanting to kill her a little confused sometimes. But boy, oh boy, was that not the right thing to say, because Xaden comes in with the knife twist. Are you finally ready to ask about the deal I made with your mother? Chapter 55. Oh, this is bad. These two have the fight to end all fights. Violet is pissed at Xaden that he doesn't tell her things. Xaden is pissed because she doesn't ask the question that he knows she wants the answers to. Finally, addressing that he knows. She is scared to ask said questions because she doesn't trust herself to handle the information. And that wasn't the right thing to say, because a seething Violet finally puts the theory to the test. And y'all, it's freaking time because she asks him, what's your second signet? Xaden, shocked to the core, has to answer the fucking doorbell, and the tension keeps building because Tyrandor is under attack. It's time to raise the wards. Chapter 56, my favorite chapter in this entire book. Dane, Ree, the Assembly, and Violet all head to the Wardstone, and Xaden and Violet are noticeably not speaking to each other. But there's no time to waste. Using the 6 dragons, all representing one of the dens, they breathe fire onto the Wardstone. There's a pulse, but it's different. However, there's a non-mistakable hum. They have wards. However, there's no time to celebrate. They have to fly out and face the venom, at least to make sure the wards work, right? A few hours later, Violet and Taryn, followed shortly by Xaden and Sigale, arrive at the edge of the wards, ready for the venom battle to come. But Xaden notes how there's no one around for miles, and it's safe for them to talk. Violet, getting incredibly frustrated that Xaden is not telling her his signet, starts to use her scribe brain and figure it out. And Xaden begs her to stop guessing. And he tells her that if she does find out, she will fall out of love with him, and he would be dead if anyone knew. But Violet, persistent, keeps going, and after guessing a myriad of signets, which yes, we will be talking about, goes silent. There's only one signet riders are killed for. Xaden Ryerson is an Intrinsic, and Nicole goes wild! Violet, completely spiraling, notices how Taryn turns to Sigale, betrayal coaxing his emotions. Even he didn't know, but Violet's love isn't fickle. But there's no time to talk. The Venom and the Wyvern are approaching, and Xaden better live because she's ready to ask him all the fucking questions. The Venom arrive, all 17 of them, and a horde of Wyvern, and it's looking like it's about to be the end for our dream team here. But as the Venom Sage, oh shit, this is the one from Ressin, sends the Wyvern in one at a time, the Wyvern cross the wards and sag like the puppets in Shrek after their song is done. The wards work! Huzzah! Pissy little Sage, Venom, shoots them a look that suggests he feels victimized by Regina George and retreats with the rest of the Wyvern and the Venom. Later, returning to Erasia, we learn that it was a staged attack on all fronts, but we also learn that Melgren has sent a message requesting an audience with Mira, Violet, and no more than 2 marked ones tomorrow. But that's not all. Serena holds a dagger in her palm and then, using lesser magic, makes it rise in the air. Wow, cool trick, Serena. Lesser magic. Wait, you shouldn't be able to wield. It looks like Violet's wards. They don't fully work. Fuck. Chapter 57. Arriving at Athpine, readying for the world's most awkward company meeting, Xaden confronts Violet about not coming to bed last night. She might have been avoiding her Intrinsic boyfriend, but the cover of I was trying to save Tyrandor works very well. As a Navarian enemy approaches the clearing, Violet promises Xaden that, yes, honey, we will talk later. In walks 7 of the Navarians' highest leadership, including General Melgren and General Sorengale. And shock of shocks, she's still being so cold to her daughters that basically penguins could have walked through this meeting, no problem. General Melgren starts the meeting offering the Erasian riders to go to the original meeting location where they have refreshments that are most definitely poisoned. Way to get some trust there, General Melgren. But an impatient assembly is ready to get the show on the road. After some posturing, Ulysses, who is in charge, I guess, is ready to roll out. But Melgren drops the real reason for this desperate meeting. Because of his signet of seeing the future outcomes of battle, he learned that the Venin are going to overrun Navarre at Samara on the winter solstice. He asks for their aid, and in return, King Tauri has agreed to let them secede and become their own kingdom. Violet's like, sweet deal, let's shake hands and be happy. But in the most allow me to mic drop way, Brennan walks into the meeting and says hell no to Melgren. Lilith, for once in her life, is shocked to see her very alive firstborn, and let's be honest, her favorite child, walk in and out of this meeting. The meeting disperses with the conclusion that Navarre is fucked and off to their deaths, but Lilith gets a moment with her daughters. She uses this time to get some answers about Brennan and to give Violet Lyra's journal. Yes, the journal that she was tortured for having. And fuck, it's in Moranian, the dead language that Violet does not speak. Lilith also mentions that, hey, those wards that you have that don't work, you should cut open the dead wyvern, scattering your borders like a tauntaun from Star Wars and see what's inside. On their way back to Erasia, Violet and Mira do just that. And what do they find but an onyx rune that, when they're holding, basically starts the Staying Alive theme song, and wyvern twitch back to life. But Violet fries them. Phew! Chapter 58. A week later, Xaden and Violet finally get some time alone in the sparring gym to talk/fight out their feelings. There's that healthy communication that we love with these two. They come to the agreement that no matter what, Xaden will not use his second signet on Violet, and also no matter what, they will always try to figure out whatever comes their way. Swoon! But boy oh boy, is that about to be put to the test at the end of this book. Later in Battle Brief, it's 2 days before solstice, and we learn that the Venin have vacated the southern part of the continent and congregated along the northern border. Violet, using her brilliant fucking woman status to her full ability, realizes that they are Netflix and chilling at the border, waiting for something. Dun dun dun! In this panic, she runs out of Battle Brief with her squad tailing her, and she finds Xaden. She tells him that the Venin are waiting for the wards to fall before attacking all of Navarre in the hopes of getting to the Vale. General Melgan's Samara battle was just a distraction to the real war, which is going to occur at Besgaiath War College. Chapter 59. Packing up for their 18-hour flight, the lines are drawn at who's able to come and who isn't. Who is? Basically every second and third year who's able to make it. Who can't/isn't is the angry first years, unable to wield flyers, and spiteful older brothers. 18 hours later, our core crew lands at Besgaiath to a very empty Besgaiath ? So little to say that arriving at the school was easy. So easy that Lilith basically told them to open the front door so the dragons did not have to make any more dramatic entrances. But her kindness stops there. She completely gaslights her daughter, basically saying that, oh, it's cute that you think our wards are in danger. Give it 5 minutes, Lilith. But Dane, fucking Dane, convinces Lilith to allow them to see the wards. Low below Besgaiath, we walk to the ward chamber and immediately know something's wrong. I guess it was the dead guards that tipped them off, but it's probably the giant orange dragon that really sealed the deal. And who is riding that orange dragon but Jack fucking Barlow? Only good can come from this. Jack goes full-blown Elmo fire meme and murders his own dragon, spilling her blood on the wardstone, extinguishing the black flame atop it, and letting her body fall, crumbling the stone in her demise. Jack fucking Barlow destroyed the Navarrian wards. Dun dun dun. Chapter 60. But Jack's not dying despite his dragon being dead. Xaden uses Jack's absolute chaos energy to gain information from him, and we learn that Jack fucking Barlow has turned Venin, and Nolan has been trying to mend him all year. Well, fuck, that explains a lot. Jack channels from the earth just in time to injure Dane and have Xaden knock Jack out as a result. But we know one thing for certain. The Venin, they are on their way. An hour later in Battle Brief, we're preparing for war. Lilith assigns squads to certain sectors to defend the school from the air, while infantry are defending from the ground. RIP to the entire infantry quadrant who's about to die, in the hopes that they can wait it out for General Melgan's ass to get back from Samara. With the imminent danger on the horizon, Lilith tells them all to go sleepy bye. Sure, because I can totally fall asleep after this imminent doom news. Early the next morning, Xaden and Violet are enjoying their final moments together. And I mean enjoying their final moments together. But because these two can never catch a fucking break in a Besgaiath bedroom, a pounding, nice, on the door cock blocks them. And who is it but the entirety of Second Squad? First years and flyers alike. And a guilty-looking Brennan. Lilith, sniffing out the flyers like a bloodhound, though, is about to raise some hell until she sees her son. Seizing the opportunity, re-asks General Sorengale permission to have Second Squad Flame Section 4th Wing Sector be moved to right above the Wardstone Chamber. Shockingly, and probably only 10% aware of what she's actually agreeing to, Lilith nods. It's time for war. Chapter 61. The longest night is upon us, and our second squad is in their sector above the main campus of Besgaiath. Together, they go over the plan just one more time. Each squad has been assigned a sector of the school to protect. They are to fight the wyvern in the venin in their sector, but if a creature goes into another sector, it's another squad's problem. Also, always face off with venin in pairs. Hooray for the buddy system! The infantry will battle from the ground. Sucks to be infantry and die, I guess. And the Griffin Flyers will ferry the wounded to the infirmary. And the Dragon Riders will protect the skies. Plus, our second squad is protecting an extra thing, the Wardstone, which Brennan attempts to mend after Jack fucking Barlow went all unhinged on its ass last episode. Our squad says their goodbyes and good lucks, and Violet tells Andarna to hide. And damn, would Andarna win at hide and seek, because she just reluctantly blended into the background. Sure, that means nothing. As Xaden starts to sing Rain, Rain, Go Away, Violet realizes that her mother is starting a storm, perfect for our lightning wielder. The wyvern approach, and mounted up on Terran, Violet uses her first strike advantage card and zaps as many wyvern out of the sky. But it's not enough. Like, by a long shot, it's not enough, and the battle begins. And hey, our squad works really well together, effortlessly maneuvering through the skies, using their signets in tandem, just beaming over here with pride. God, I love them. But then a venin lands on Ter's back, and oh no! Violet is stuck in her saddle and cannot get up to fight him. And just when it looks like our Violet is about to get got, a flash of a green dragon flies overhead and Rhiannon lands in front of Violet's saddle. Chapter 62. Violet is about to combust with fear for her friend. However, Rhi can really hold her own. Violet is always thinking one step ahead though. Telling Taryn to do a belly roll, Violet holds on to Rhi and goodbye, Venom, as he rolls off of Taryn. But don't get too comfy, Violet, because with a bellow, Riddick's dragon yells in pain. Iotrum is getting absolutely deck-wrecked by a wyvern, and Sleeg, Sawyer's dragon, is heading off to the rescue. Sawyer tries to kick her, sir, but then this wyvern, who is just being a dick and a half, turns on Sleeg, opens his jaws, and eats Sawyer's leg. Cue SpongeBob. My leg! Violet says, not my friend, you bitch, and runs off of Taryn, landing on Iotrum, giving her crossbow to a shooketh Riddick, then runs up the dick wyvern and jumps onto Sleeg, grabbing onto Sawyer and leaps into the open air. No big deal. And thank God a pissed Taryn catches this duo. I mean, Taryn, you gotta admit, dude, that was pretty dope. Landing on the ground, Violet passes a profusely bloody Sawyer off to Marin, and Kat is quite impressed with Violet and even gives her a peace-offering dagger. But then another Venom lands near Violet and starts her evil Venom monologue and says that the big bad, he wants Violet. Violet is understandably confused and attempts to get information out of the Venom, but Kat uses her gift to heighten the Venom's emotions. Damn, that's cool. And then the Venom goes full-blown Louise from Bob's Burgers and laughs maniacally. But then another Venom lands and Violet decides it's time to zap that first Venom dead. And when it looks like all hope is lost for our duo here, a boulder moves from the cliffside. But it's not just a boulder. It's a dragon with black scales. Chapter 63. Our girl Andarna steps forward, breathes fire on the Venom, and then noms him in half. Yummy Venom flavor. Violet hears from Taryn that Melgren is ordering her and Xaden to the Vale. Violet tells her youngest dragon to go to the Wardstone Chamber and stay safe. As she makes her way to Melgren. But who is running after her but Jasenia? And our girl Jasenia has the New York Times crossword puzzle mystery of the century. Jasenia mentions that she has the translation of the journal, but she thinks Lyra is wrong because Lyra says the breath of life of the 7 combined and set the stone ablaze in an iron flame. But that's impossible. There aren't 7 breeds of dragon. Or are there? Jasenia runs off as she hears Sawyer is injured, and Violet starts to use that brilliant fucking woman status of hers. What if? No, it can't be. Holy shit, it is! But no more of that right now. We've got to have suspense, people. Closing down her epic realization, she arrives where Xaden, Lilith, and Melgren are all fighting. And we learn that Melgren is basically ready to abandon ship. But Violet fights with her mother to attempt to raise the wards. The leaders do not budge. But then the leader of the Venom from Resson, the Venom from Violet's dreams, arrives. Fuck! Violet begs her mom to let her attempt to raise the wards, and Lilith, for once in her life, listens to her youngest. So a new plan forms. Violet will head to the Wardstone Chamber to imbue the stone and raise the wards, and Xaden says that he will buy her whatever time he can, since the Venom are waiting to attack. Wait, Xaden? What the fuck are the Venom waiting for? Xaden, a man of words, answers plain and vague. Me. Dun dun dun! Chapter 64. We're right back into the action, and the worst has yet to come. After dropping the world's shortest info bomb of letting Violet know that the Venom are actually waiting for Xaden, Violet asks her cryptic shadow daddy, would you rather me ward Besgaeth or Eratia? Without hesitating, Xaden says, ward wherever Violet, his home, is. My fucking heart! These two say a not a goodbye, but instead a see you later. All of the while, the sage not a sage is descending slowly and dramatically to the ground. He loves to make an entrance. Violet sprints Sonic the Hedgehog style to the Wardstone Chamber where Brennan has resurrected the stone. Too soon? I think so. Violet begins pouring her entire self into the Wardstone to imbue it back to life, but our girl is good at multitasking because her youngest dragon swoops in to give her the biggest info download of the book. Turns out Andarna is a badass queen who waited 650 years to hatch as part of her secret 7th breed of dragon. But why did she hatch, you ask? Oh, because she was eavesdropping on the elders saying that there was a girl who would be the head of the scribes. But Andarna knew. She knew that this girl was destined to be her match. Who's that girl? It's Violet. Quickly, Violet's learning that homegirl is tapped out and she will die. Unsurprisingly, our self-sacrificing people-pleaser doesn't think twice about throwing herself into the metaphorical iron flame fire and draining herself almost to the dregs. But who enters the Wardstone chamber? It's I'm gonna drop kick my daughter Lilith Sorrengail. Lilith kicks a near-to-death Violet away from the Wardstone and recruits our favorite siphon, Sloane, to help her imbue the stone. Violet, in hopes of getting Xaden to talk some sense into the situation, opens up the connection with her shadow daddy and feels a hopeless and helpless Xaden on the other end. I'm sure nothing bad could come of that, but Lilith begins to fade, and with some actual vulnerable and kind words to her children, she and her dragon Imser fall, but not before finalizing the imbuing of the stone. A devastated Violet and Brennan weep over their dead mother, and who walks in but a "What did you do?" Mira. Leave it to the two siblings to raise absolute hell, and then the third sibling walks into the horror show and threatens to tell mom. Ooh, that was definitely too soon. Everyone is dragged out of the Wardstone chamber so the dragons can light it up, and a wave of power rushes past them. The wards rise, and on top of the stone is the last remainder of Lilith Sorrengail, an iron flame. Chapter 65. It's rain and wyvern. Hallelujah, it's rain and wyvern. It's not as catchy, but it's just as exciting. The wards have risen. Huzzah! 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 But it's not all smiles, rainbows, and butterflies. Our Sorrengail trio is horrified by the death of their mother, and each of them go their separate ways. Brennan off to give orders, Violet off to hug her squad leader, and Mira just off. Yes, we will be talking about it. We learn that all of Second Squad lives, minus Sawyer's leg. And there's only one more thing to do to feel at ease. Lay eyes on Xaden and Tarn. I guess fuck you, Sigale. Violet heads out to the battlefield that is littered with wyvern and dragons and riders. Oh my! But then she turns to her shadow daddy, who is acting quite strange, specifically not looking her way. Violet tells Xaden that her mother has died and that Melgren wants them back at Basgiath, to which he agrees, because with them under the wards, Violet will be less scared. Nervous, Violet wonders what on earth can possibly scare her after all of this. Be careful what you wish for, Violet. Slowly, like painfully slowly, Xaden looks her way, and he's high! Wait, no, he just has a red rim around his eyes for other reasons. Xaden has turned Venin! Chapter 66. It's time for a Zaddy POV. We're in a dream, an oddly familiar dream. Xaden is suspended in midair and facing off with the main Venin from his dreams. And the Venin is fucking taunting him, giving him the last opportunity to turn to the dark side. But Xaden, in a very Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone voice, says, "Never!" But the Venin has one more bad guy info drop. Sage? Not a sage. I'm a general. Say what? Honestly, I feel like this was slightly directed to the Fantasy Fangirls. But this general pulls some major reverse psychology and taunts Xaden one step further. Xaden's gonna die at his hands, and then he will go and kill Violet. And that's just enough to tip our shadow daddy over the edge. Feeling an immense amount of power beneath the ground, Xaden begins pulling from the source and jolts awake. Not a dream, but a memory. But luckily, the nightmares are over, and his girl Violet is asleep next to him in bed. Aw, so cute. Xaden's got some stuff he's gotta figure out, and he knows just the person to help him. Sneaking out of bed and heading down to the cells beneath Basgiath, Xaden stands right in front of Jack fucking Barlow. Xaden, using his big scary wing leader voice, asks Jack fucking Barlow how to cure Veninhood. But there is no cure. There is only craving more and more power. And with an eerie welcome to the fucked up family, it looks like these two are brothers now. I did not sign up for this version of the Brady Bunch. End of Iron Flame.